podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
First there was the original.
I thought it might be nice for kids. Keep them off the street, you know.
Then the basic.
This is a simple game.
Then the first version of the advanced.
Good, clean, wholesome fun.
Now the hammer comes down. Welcome to THACO's Hammer, the best damn second edition AD&D podcast ever.
Hi, folks. Flatbook number 26 of THACO's Hammer. I'm DM Glen, along with DM Full-On Gamer.
How's it going, Gamer Nation? Welcome to the party.
I tripped you up there. I said you first. And DM Froggy Brian.
Ribbit.
Or is that Foggy Brian? I'm sorry.
Oh.
And this week, we've got DM Julie with us. Ha, 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 ha.
Hi.
Because we all know you love Julie. A lot of love for Julie out there. I'm so happy for her to be on the show. We got kind of a meat and potato show today, so let's get into hits and crits.
What do you feel like doing tonight?
I don't know, Ange. What do you feel like doing?
Well, we ought to do something. It's Saturday night. I don't want to go bowling like last Saturday. Oh, what do you feel like doing tonight?
I don't know, Ange. What do you feel like doing?
Hits and crits.
Hits and crits. Okay, I'm going to stop my goofy rant here and ask Brian, what did you do this week gaming-wise?
Oh, I've been germinating an idea for the Skype game that we talked about in episode 25.
I was going to say way back when
yeah.
Corey brought it up, you mean?
Yeah, before I broke my toe, before your computer, finally died. Yeah. Yeah, folks, it's been about, four weeks between episodes now?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so, life has been, shall we say, unkind to a few of us.
Quite a few, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, broken toe, things like that. But you're still germinating.
Oh, yeah, I've got some ideas percolating.
Okay, I can.
Sorry.
Julie, we're getting to you.
My cat's being weird.
Yeah, you might have to.
Go figure. Julie lives with cats.
Yes, she does. She taught him to roll dice, too.
They hide dice.
Well,
yeah,
you got to worry once they start learning how to use, like, Audacity and the microphone.
Oh, God, can you imagine?
Help us! Let us get us out of here. We got a crazy lady.
I don't think OSR needs to have a podcat.
Wow.
Okay, let's go over to Julie. What you been doing this week, Julie? It doesn't have to be gaming. I know you don't.
Well, probably for the best since I haven't had a chance to game in a while, but I've been focusing on Dunwich.
Yes.
My big Halloween special for my podcast, 19 Nocturne Boulevard, is the Dunwich Horror, done in 4 parts, fully dramatized. Oh boy, it's a lot of work.
Audio 3D.
No, that's a whole different thing.
Well, it's the SCTV version of 3D,
Ooh, pancakes! Isn't that scary, folks? But
yes. Count Floyd, yes.
And I get to be in it.
Yes. It's
if I could survive the pronunciations.
Yeah, somehow you got a lot of those.
Oh,
but
you're an actor, Glenn. You can handle it.
I'm not a linguist.
Well, I'm an actor, damn it, not a linguist.
But yeah, so, anybody familiar with the H.P. Lovecraft oeuvre should have a lot of fun with it.
Well, plug away. What's the web address?
Well, it'll be coming out at 19 Nocturne Boulevard. Our main website is 19 Nocturne Boulevard, and our RSS feed is 19nocturne.libsyn.org.
The 19 Nocturne is either .org or .com.
Yeah, or .net or .com.
Oh, .net or .com. Either one will work.
Just come find it. But it'll be coming out. The first episode comes out next Saturday, and it'll come out for the next 4 weeks in a row. That's one reason it's such a lot of work.
I guess I better record the other half, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would help.
Indeed, a treasure trove of things men were not meant to know.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh. You keep that up.
Yeah,
Hold on. You keep that up. She's going to recruit you. Watch it.
That almost sounded like Crispy.
Yeah. Wow.
Don't worry. I've got Lord Bloodraw doing the voice of the Necronomicon. He's a horror host out of California. He's a real sweetie.
Awesome. Suave SOB. Hold on. What's up? What you been doing this week?
Gaming-wise, not much. I got one hit on my ad listing for the Gamers Looking for Gamers from the OSR podcast pages. Been able to read up on my recently acquired copy of the Leverage RPG, which was awesome.
Leverage?
Is that like Leverage the TV show?
Yes, Leverage the TV show, the RPG. Yes,
they put out an RPG for that. Really?
Yes, they did. It is using the same. It's the same game system as they use for Battlestar Galactica and for Serenity.
It wasn't that like a variant of D20?
Yeah, no.
No, okay.
They actually use no D20s in it whatsoever.
How about that?
They use D12s. No, I'm kidding.
It's a dice scaling system.
Really?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The better you are at something, the bigger the die you use is.
Ah.
You use them in combination of between, like, I have this many die in a skill and this many die in a stat, or this type of die in a skill, this type of die in a stat. I roll the two together and boom, go.
Oh, I get it.
It's a very cinematic, fast-paced type play system.
I might
and
just like
it
that.
works for the over-the-top, heroics of doing things in the, black hat, white hat A-team with a burglary crew setting that leverages.
Speaking of the A-team, I actually saw that last night. But anyway, sorry, I digress.
Who's the publisher?
Oh Lord, I'd have to go grab the book off the shelf. I think it's
Pop quiz.
Hold on. I'm the one with the fast computer. Hang on.
Oh Lord.
Ray should let me jump the couch.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
It was Alderac, folks. No. Or is it Pinnacle? No.
Hold on. I'm typing it in right now. There we go.
Isn't the internet age wonderful?
Yes, it is. Margaret Weiss put this out.
That's right, Margaret Weiss.
They're the people who, they should have been.
Bless
bless
that woman's heart. I mean, she did
they own the
Smallville.
system.
Yeah, they did Smallville and Supernatural. You know what? I've always loved Margaret Weiss just as a storyteller, but wow.
Okay, okay, this goes out to Margaret Weiss Productions, especially Margaret Weiss. Margaret, baby.
We can get a hold of her on Facebook.
Baby, listen, I know we love your. Could you please, just for a favor to me, put out the core system? That would be so nice, and I would thank you so nice. That ought to work. Anyway.
So when's Fern notice the game coming out?
I wouldn't doubt it. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised that comes out within a year because
I'd buy it.
I would.
I can already play it with the game systems I have now. In fact, you could probably play it with the leverage system as it is.
Yep.
The Cortex system for it and the stuff that they have laid in for the archetypes of the characters. Just rename it and play it as Burn Notice, and you'd have no problems whatsoever.
Yep.
You get bonus points if you narrate how and why, and behind why you're doing what you're doing.
Oh, I'd give up if I was GMing that. That's exactly what I would do.
I got dibs on the Bruce Campbell character.
Oh, no one else I know could play it anywhere near as good as Bruce himself.
That's true. Chin of Power, yes.
That should be a card in Magic.
Gut of Fury.
Chin of Power.
Chin of Power.
Beer Gut of Fury.
Yes. But
hey, he shaped up.
A little.
But the point is, if she put out the core rules, that would be so cool as a universal system.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to buy games tied to some TV show, even though of course, as Full-On says, you can reskin them. Mm-hmm. But it would be very nice if I had like the Margaret Weiss role-playing game. Boom.
Cortex system.
Yeah.
So you want to play Margaret Weiss? No.
If she'll put out the no.
Hey, easy.
I'm not going that far.
Easy.
Easy there. We'll just
wait a minute. Hold on.
We'll give her to Brian. So.
Hold on. Yes. I'm looking at. I went back to the site. They actually do have the Cortex system.
They do.
Yes.
Is it published or?
Yeah, published. $30. Go to margaretweiss.com and you can go to their online store and you can buy the Cortex system by itself.
Didn't she also do Cartoon Action Hour?
Not that I'm seeing here.
Okay, I'll have to ask Vince about that.
Okay.
Oh, I'm thinking of Tracy. I think I'm thinking of Tracy Hickman. But one of those, they did the Cartoon Action Hour.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's what we've been doing. So let's.
And that's what we find out through the magic of the internets.
Thank you, Margaret. You're so sweet. Brian, we got any emails?
Yes, we do, as a matter of fact. We have a voicemail from a constant emailer and voicemailer to the show, DM
and
Kojo.
Good friend.
And good friend. I should not forget that. I am remiss.
DM Kojo.
Greetings, wielders of the hammer. This is DM Kojo calling. Got a couple questions for you from the Complete Fighter's Handbook. Page 59 talks about tight groups and broad groups for weapon proficiencies. Tight groups costing 2 proficiency slots and broad groups costing 3. Wonder if you guys use these in your campaign. The tight groups don't seem too bad. They seem reasonable as far as the amount of weapons you get for the 2 proficiency slots. But I think broad groups might be a bit too broad for the price of only 3 proficiency slots, so I'm hesitant to allow broad groups. Wonder what your take was on that. Also, I like the idea of the fighting styles, the 4 fighting styles mentioned on page 61, single weapon, 2-hander, weapon and shield, and 2-weapon style. However, I wonder if it's really going to slow down combat and drag down the gameplay, so I've never used them, although I've always been interested. Again, wondering if you guys have used those in your campaigns. How would you use them? Modify them? Ignore them? Just curious. Love to hear what you have to say on it. Keep up the good work. DM Kojo's out.
And that was that.
Thank you, DM Kojo. Mm-hmm. And now to the next email. No, we're not going to. Okay, fighters. What's your take on this one?
I've used both the type groups and the broad groups. I found them both useful and a useful tool for the game. It really is what they went to with 3rd edition with, your weapon groups of, simple or martial and all that other stuff. So it's not anything that I wasn't familiar with when those came around. And, the tight groups are generally the more comfortable fit to go with it than the broad groups. But especially if you're dealing with, say, a non-fighter-centric campaign and you need to have some more people able to competently pick up a pointy stick or a hard object and hit people with it, it's useful.
Okay. I've used both. Like I said, as I've said in other shows, I am a proponent of the trickle-down level theory, which means if I'm going to have a character, especially when I get into kits, especially, a character who wants to be good at, like, say, the rapier, I will buy the broader group and then devote a slot or 2 to
a rapier.
Rapier.
I'm sorry.
Swishy poke for the win.
Yes, with a French accent.
As it was known in my group, the pig sticker. Mm-hmm. But then
I've played with pigs, too.
Too much information. Sorry.
But then I buy levels in the rapier. And so it's like, okay, I can really hurt you with the rapier, but what, I only got a broadsword? All right, I'll use that and not do so much damage, but still give you, something to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I use them judiciously. There's not much, at least to my point of view, I don't see too much of a power issue. I mean, it's like, it's not as if you have, if you're going to take a broad group, like say all swords, which is fine, because, how many times have we seen the typical fantasy hero, who uses, let's say a broadsword, normally, but later on, out of necessity picks up, say like a short sword or a great sword or like a two-hander and uses that with almost as much skill as he does with his tried and true broadsword.
It's only the really amazing fighters you see on one moment picking up the axe, next moment picking up the sword, next moment throwing the club, next moment firing the bow, and doing them all well.
Yes.
Okay.
I keep thinking of Rio Bravo, where Ricky Nelson asked John Wayne. He says, "Why do you carry that rifle?" He says, "I found some men are a little faster than me with a 6-gun."
There you go.
That's why you have the broader to the narrower. He's better with a shotgun. He's better with a rifle.
Yep.
I can understand that.
Yep.
Julie, you got any input on this? If you don't, it's all right.
I'm sure I could, but it's not an area that I've done a lot with. I work a lot with, sort of generic group skills like that in a lot of different game systems. So, and also I've done stage fighting, so I know what it's kind of like. We haven't fought with like real weighted weapons. Weapons with real weight to them. But you do still. I would say the reason it carries over the real world rationale for it would be more that the person who knows how to use one kind of sword, when they pick up another one, they can feel the difference and account for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would give them more negatives right up front, and then let them, adjust to it as they use it. But that's just personal choice.
Okay. And now the second part, what was it? Weapon styles?
Yeah.
I never used them.
I always have. This goes back to when there was a lot of debate in first edition about wielding two weapons and so forth, and what you can wield in the primary hand and the secondary hand. Right. With second edition, they decided to say, okay, here is a set of guidelines as to how it goes. If you're going to use it and you're not trained how to use them, you have pretty significant penalties to your attack rolls.
Right.
Those can get lessened if you have a high dex, or if you do have two weapon style, or if you take ambidexterity. And there is a bit of a debate that I've been in on Dragon's Foot about this. And
don't get me started.
Yeah, I know. I'm right there.
We'll wind you up. We'll wind you up in a minute here. Go ahead.
But my whole thing is that, look, if a just because a character takes two weapon style and has a high dex, or takes ambidexterity to minimize the penalties that using two weapons entails, so what? So you've got somebody wielding a pair of scimitars. God, that I haven't said that in a long time. Or a pair of short swords, or a pair of long swords. What does it matter? It's not, unless the character has like a ridiculously high strength and, has a really low armor class to go with it, it doesn't become a problem for the DM.
Half ogre. No. What?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not guilty of that whatsoever.
Yeah.
No, never.
I find in real life I default to two weapons simply because of the intimidation factor. Even if you can't use them particularly well, it still freaks the crap out of somebody who hasn't fought against it before.
I have done two weapon fighting and trained in it, and I know it is hard to get that, coordination down, but it is doable, and you get some significant benefits they never even really go into in the gameplay that I had to start rolling a couple of house rules to go with the way I run two weapon fighting at my table. Yes, I keep all of the standard proficiencies and proficiency slots. You can buy into it with getting better and better and better at it, but I have another layer I put on there for anybody who's using two weapons, whether you're skilled in it or not. I just have this general guideline of modifiers that apply to how you fight with two weapons, being either a defensive style, a balanced style, or an offensive style. And you represent it in play by the way you hold the weapons. If you're holding one weapon forward and one weapon back, in a reverse grip, that's your balanced style. That lets you parry as much as you attack, and so forth. That is no change from the standard. If you use both weapons forward, you're in a fully offensive stance. You take -2 to your armor class, but +2 to your attacks. And the reverse in the case, if you're holding both of the weapons reversed, you get a bonus of 2 to your armor class because you are concentrating heavily on parrying, and you take a -2 to your attack rolls. Simple, elegant, and it represents the way you're fighting with two weapons and the kind of benefits you're supposed to benefit from them. If you're fighting a one-weapon person with two weapons, you strike first to move their weapon out of the way and follow in with the other weapon. That's how you do it. It's what it's there for.
Right. Kind of like a Gillette razor. One whiffs the hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I've done that in combatives training. I've done that in actual fighting styles. And you can do it with everything from knives up to, long swords.
Yep. Yeah, it's just a matter of, training how to do it with those weapons. To me, it sounds like, I'm not saying this is what you did full on, but it sounds to me like you took two weapon style and blade song and married the two. That's what it sounds like to me. Because you have different benefits as to what you want to do. Whenever I've used two weapon style and, running a character, and I've used the story God knows how many times about me and my ex-fiancée. We both had two characters that used two weapon styles. She was a swashbuckler with two long swords. I was just this, uber scout, ranger, thief kind of thing who used two short swords. And the whole thing was that I always kept in the back of my head, when in combat situations, what I was going to do as far as, using it for defense or using it for, full offense or something in between.
And that's the thing that the big debate is about for two-weapon fighting, is some people say, fighting with two weapons is so hard to do, everything you do with it is bad, and you take all these penalties. No. Other people want to say, everything you do with two weapons is so impressive and awesome, you do more damage because you can hit more, so it's more aggressive. I take the whole spectrum and run the gamut between, it is there to let you defend yourself better, or you can make yourself able to attack better at the penalty of the other. Or try to find that balance in the middle, if you can get yourself trained to do it well.
Right.
Well, if nothing else, if you're doing it well, they do get minuses on their morale checks.
No, it's very true. That's something I've seen, in reality, is that, like I said, the fact that it's intimidating. People are used to, I hit you here, you hit me there. I hit you here, you hit me there. And then when they've got either when you're fighting with an offhand or when you have an unusual weapon, it kind of wigs them. Unless they're used to fighting against it,
or your Batman.
Yeah, if you're doing two weapon fighting well, they're going to look at it as it's like I'm trying to put my face into a prop of a plane. Forget it.
Yeah, a helicopter blade, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's not just flashy and showy. I actually used that in the Gamer Olympics at a Gen Con 5-6 years ago that I was at.
Wow.
At Gen Con, they have this Gamer Olympics where you go through and compete in all these different – you do the task, and they generate a character sheet for you out of those things that you do. The final stage was the combat, where they have a whole bunch of buff or nerf weapons, axes, swords, polearms, whatever. Whatever you pick, their designated fighter person will fight you with it, and the more hits you get, the better your stats are. I let them know in advance. Yes, I have had some combat training. Yes, I have trained in some tie stick fighting. Dual stick. And I said, I'll take the two broadswords. And I went in using Sinawali, and I had him disarmed in 3 strokes and hit him about a dozen times.
Oh, man. I really would like video on that. Really, really, really. I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, I saw stuff like that in when I went to Dragon Con back in 94. They had a full demonstration with basically real swords. They were in armor. The guy who was the master of it, God rest his soul, he had he had like emphysema, and so his breathing capacity was like basically cut in half. But even so, him and the people he was demonstrating with, he showed, because he was saying, okay, this is how we do it, sword and shield. This is how we do it, single weapon. This is how we do it, 2-weapon style. And, the whole thing is it comes down to how well trained your character is, which translates roughly into what proficiencies you take.
Oh,
and, And, it's not, go ahead, Julie. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's just like people poo-poo a polearm, but a well-used polearm is just as intimidating.
A well-used polearm, no one gets within 6 feet of the guy wielding it.
Exactly. The problem is that
and if they do, butt stroke to the head.
Yeah.
The problem is the polearms are typically what you give to the untrained fighter, so everybody assumes that if you've got a polearm, you're a mook. And then you can take their head off.
Right.
You find out their kung fu is strong.
I still like watching the Adventures of Robin Hood and watch Alan Hale fling around that quarterstaff.
Parry, thrust.
Stop it, Julie. Get out of my head.
Oh, ha, parry, dodge, spin, thrust, bang!
Bang!
Wait a minute. Let's do that again. Point, thrust. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, he talks himself through it. That was the best part.
Okay. We digress.
Yes,
thank you, Cujo.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that informative voicemail, which we just...
Was it Cujo? I thought it was...
No, it's Kojo, actually.
Kojo.
Kojo.
Which we totally ripped it to the ground.
Yeah. Now we go into an episode of Samurai Jack. Anyway.
We hope any of that was helpful.
Yes.
Do we have any more emails, Brian?
We do. We have a couple ones that kind of talk about the same thing. One person has some comments about Splatbook 24, which we did. God knows how long ago.
Oh yeah, we remember that.
Yeah, sorta, kinda, maybe. It's been so long. As everybody can tell, because we're a little rusty. But here's the one.
I have up.
Yeah. 3
That's me being rusty.
Yeah, 3-in-1 oil for everyone around. Yeah.
This is why Julie's around. She keeps us awake.
Yeah, some people call it that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This one is from Brady Webb, who is emailing us from the merry old England.
Not that guy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that guy. Okay, this is a little bit long, so I'm going to just kind of plow through it. Hi, Glenn, Brian, and Full On Gamer. This is DM Brady. Hello.
G'day.
Mm-hmm. No, that's Australia. This is DM Brady writing from the old country, i.e. England. Glenn, you may remember that I recently wrote into Save or Die in that missive that I promised to write into THACO's Hammer, blah, blah, blah. Well, he's writing in, finally. Better late than never, right, Brady?
Yeah, you can threaten, but you can't. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you don't scare us. Anyway, firstly, I just want to compliment you guys on an excellent show and to also thank you. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Mm-hmm. He says, thank you for rekindling my love for AD&D. Like many of you listeners, I've been a role player for more years than I care to remember, 25 plus. Yeah, that's me. On top of which, I'm a self-confessed geek. Heck, I even have a geeky job working for Marvel UK. Oh, well, that must be nice.
Well, we just increased our listenership by about 1,000 fanboys.
I don't have a problem with that. If we can get 10% of those fanboys playing second edition AD&D, our job is done.
That's
okay,
true.
To continue. Anyway,
I'm listening to my show.
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Sorry, Julie. Get another 10% for Julie. Okay. Let's see. He says, I absolutely love role-playing, and over the years I've run many, many campaigns, 90% of which has been as the DMGM. In fact, my longest campaign was an Advanced Marvel Superheroes campaign that I ran for 16 years. We played once a week, every week. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the way to play.
Yeah, once a week. I wish. I wish.
I know the situation. It's in England. It's at the Marvel offices. But 60 years on Marvel superheroes.
60 years.
That's still a wow.
That's very, very impressive. I mean, there are only a couple of other campaigns I've ever heard of that have gone on longer than that. But that's usually like once a month or once every 2 weeks. Okay.
I mean, my Champions game went on 12. So, wow.
You get my whole thing is you get over, say, 4 years, you're doing great. Anything above that, that's just gravy. That's just the way I see it.
And the thing that kicks it over, it wasn't D&D. Usually those long campaigns are like D&D.
Yeah, that's true. Although I've heard like some Shadowrun games, and especially Vampire the Masquerade when that was big back in the late 90s. Yeah.
That's not a game, that's an experience.
We're back in the old days.
We used to bite them with wooden fangs.
Yeah, we used to have wax fangs in our mouths when we spoke in character.
Anyway.
You had wax?
That fruit juice was good, but still.
Oh, man. Okay, we digress again. Okay. Back to AD&D. As I said, your show has reignited my enjoyment and interest in all things AD&D and has inspired me to start up a Dragonlance campaign. Now, yeah, that's sort of he says, sorry, Glenn, I know you're not keen on the setting, but I'm a big fan. I plan to... Yeah.
You play D&D, that's the important part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't matter what setting you take. I plan to run the War of the Lance series. Now, see, this is where I kind of get off the rails with him because I'm like, yeah, and have set the campaign 10 years before the war begins, which actually is not a bad idea. The plan is I will run a number of adventures that will take the PCs up to 3rd level, then they will disband and reunite 5 years later at the end of the last home. Oh, paralleling the books, are we?
If you're going to run modules, you have to. I'll go into that later.
Yeah.
So we're going to let you run around in the country until you're 3rd level and then put you on the train. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Put you on the... Yeah.
Don't you have to go kill a lot of pigs or something to get the experience? No.
Devil swine, yes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, can you imagine a first little party going against that? Okay. Having advanced enough to tackle the first scenario, before we started the campaign, I warned my players this would be a particularly brutal game, as because there are no true gods, there's no clerical healing, which is true. I have mitigated the problem by slightly increasing the amount of hit points a PC regains by being treated by someone with the heal and herbalism non-weapon proficiencies. Good idea. The other problem, of course, is that no one can turn undead, but this makes a living dead far more terrifying. True. We're about 6 sessions in, and my group are hooked, which your job is done. If it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't have brought my old books out of storage, so once again, thank you. You're welcome. Sure. Okay, he has a question. Now that he's, finished, buttering us up really good.
Soaping our rope, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Before I proceed any further, I have a quick question, and please forgive my ignorance. Where did the nickname Splatbook come from, and what does it mean? Oh, boy.
That's my turn.
Oh, that's opening up a little can of worms. And in my opinion, the complete whatever handbooks are definitely brown, not red. A reddish brown, but definitely brown. Yeah, I wanted to feel.
Okay, I'll accept the reddish brown, but you'll have to accept that you're wrong. But anyway,
go ahead, Glenn. Answer this.
Splatbook is actually a term taken from the publishing industry. It started at White Wolf, and they carried it over to 2nd edition. Usually, a splat is an asterisk. That's what they call in the publishing industry, an asterisk.
Mm-hmm.
So you would see it right when people were writing generically, like they got the complete book of dwarves, complete book of elves, the complete book series. So they just put the complete book of asterisks, so they call them splat books.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the name came.
Okay. No, here I thought it was just some sort of snarky name to kind of poo-poo and downplay, optional rules,
Well, they can use it that way, I guess.
Well, it has been used that way. That's my point.
I always use it as the generic usage of Splatbook, meaning the only way to keep the damn thing open to a page is to splat it down, pages open. Horrible thing to do to a book spine, but
that's what you call split books.
Yeah, absolutely kills the spine, but yeah. Okay.
It'll kill a 1E spine. A 2E spine can take it.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, one each.
Don't give me your damn Unearthed Arcana. That thing will be out at the door.
Every
You
time
need to give your spine more hit points to compensate for the lack of clerical ability.
Yeah, no kidding. Every time I think of Unearthed Arcana, I think of how many copies of that damn book I bought. Anyway, moving on. With regard to your recent interesting review of monster mythology, I've always held that any intelligent race, be they monster or otherwise, would have their own faiths. I agree. However, yeah, yeah, god of potatoes. However, in all my games, I usually have it that they are worshiping one of an established pantheon of gods, but they know them by a different name and might have a slightly skewed interpretation of them.
Now that's a good interpretation. It cuts down on the crowding upstairs, if you know what I mean.
I agree completely. Yeah, that's kind of what I do. Although it's 99% in my campaigns, it's like 99% of humans. Like in one region, the god will be known by this name, the god will be known by another name, and if you find the god's true name somehow, you know, it's like this major event for the faith in question.
Oh, you get into the true name stuff.
Why not?
Interesting.
You know, but it's like I said, different regions, different names. But usually it causes some sort of holy schism, but I digress.
And then you have paladins fighting paladins, and everyone's right.
Holy war, yeah. Yeah, everybody's
And then you don't have to write a plot for this week.
Yeah, exactly. These paladins are doing this. Stop them. But I continue. He goes on about Kiri Jolith, makes an example. Okay, moving on to the next point. With regards to your discussion on free casting for priests and clerics, yeah, that's the word.
Creek and what?
Yeah, I was about to say creek and clerics. Yeah, priest and clerics, yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, there's the name for our show right there. I've always used this method, and controversially, I also apply it to wizards. I haven't found this makes the wizard too powerful at higher levels, and in fact makes both the wizard and priest classes more enjoyable for the players. Of course. But then I'm also careful as to which spells the advancing wizard has access to. That's the only way to do it if you're going to use casting.
You better.
Yeah, you better. Otherwise you just become a fireball platform. Patriot missile system, anyone?
Wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Yeah, in the right circumstances, but we'll get it.
If you're fighting a war, that's preferable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're on an actual battlefield, that's fine, but yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Just expecting company for Thanksgiving dinner, it's kind of a pain.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, lastly, I'm looking forward to your opinions to the problem of railroading in games. You touched on it briefly, but I'd be interested in how you handle it. I've always played very fast and loose, as telling a compelling story is paramount in my mind, which is good. Consequently, I've also allowed my players to do what they want, even when running a published scenario. That's also good. Of course, this means a lot of creative thinking on my part when they completely go off plot, but it's always fun. Of course, if you're running a homegrown campaign, you have a lot more freedom. That's true too. And he gives an example about his Marvel game, and now he gets to the meat of his thing. He says, as I mentioned, he's going to run the War of the Lands campaign, which is very guilty of the whole railroad plot. Yeah, right. I mean that's like, I think the only one that's more only slightly less railroady than that is the original Against the Giants. Which means you go up against the Giants or you get killed. It even says so in the description. In fact, as you may know, but for the listeners who don't, the scenarios advise when the PCs go off plot and they're heading in the wrong direction to throw monsters at them until they get the hint and get back on the right path. I hate this method. Yeah, so do I. As an exceptionally blunt tool, like using a tammer, that's a good one, like a tank to hammer a nail. I prefer to be more subtle and will be approaching the Dragonlance scenarios in the same way I ran my Marvel game, by having an idea of the timeline and events happening, whether or not the players decide to do things as written. That's a very good way to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
At the same time, I will tailor things to fit in accordance to the. For example, say the players decide that having fled Solace with the blue crystal staff, and that they should head to the Tower of High Sorcery at Wayreth, instead of, as the scenario dictates, flee into the Darkened Wood, where they would learn what the next step is from the Forest Master. I would let them go to Wayreth and have Parsalian, Master of the Mastery Order of High Sorcery, tell him exactly what the Forest Master would have, and then have them try to complete the task in less time. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yep.
Well, that's all from me. I apologize for rambling on, and keep up the great work. Excelsior, DM Brady. P.S.
Yeah, just say Excelsior.
Yeah, of course he did.
It's probably in his contract for Marvel.
Yeah, that's required. I'm sure of it. P.S. Is Full-On going to be a regular on the show? I do hope so, as his comments are always so insightful.
Oh, hell no.
You're fired, Full-On.
I'm a loner.
Fog out of here.
He's like a lone wolf with the claws.
Wander the wilds of the OSR Gaming and strike without warning. All the podcasts shall know and fear me.
No, I'll be around.
Yeah,
we're keeping this one.
Yeah, he's part of the family. He proved
even though Julie's on probation.
No. I'm not on probation. I'm on loan.
Oh,
that's right.
I could say something about paying enough money, but I won't. Okay, getting back to his thing about railroading, we'll do this quick because we have like.
I'm getting paid.
Oh, hey, read what books he edits in Marvel too. It's right on the bottom there.
Oh yeah, he edits Astonishing Spider-Man, Marvel Legends, and the graphic novels for the UK, which is that's impressive.
That is.
That's pretty kick-ass.
Yeah. Hey, keep the emails coming, Brady. And if I ever go over there, I'd love to hoist a pint with you, talk about comics.
Sure.
But
now, is this about railroading?
Yes, railroading. Yeah. I do have it in the show notes for a topic, but we can certainly cover it a little bit here. My whole thing is that. As a player, I despise railroading, especially if the DM doesn't have enough on the ball to make it subtle. If he's going to hit us over the head with the Maul of the Titans, basically, and just try to hammer us back into line, I'm not going to be into the game very much.
Is the Mall of the Titans near the Mall of America?
No, the Mall of the Titans is over in Greece, but no.
It's the hyperdimensional plot hammer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, though.
But yeah, so as a DM myself, if my players start getting off the plot, I'm just at this point in the game, I'm just too damn old to say, look, my whole thing is I'll be like, look, okay, you guys want to do this, even though this is like way far away from what you set out to do, and if the answer is yes, I'm like, okay, but there are going to be some consequences, and those consequences, that's when I hit them over the head after they, decide to take a hard right turn off of the line they were going in, and it'll be like, okay, you guys were going to save this, try to go and fight this dragon. You promised the leader of a community that you would do this or whatever, and you guys say, oh, there's this lair over here, and there's all this treasure over here. They get basically they go ooh shiny and go towards it. Okay, well then the dragon you were supposed to fight has burned down the community that you promised that you'd fight the dragon for, and now you guys have a negative rep for it. And that's going to mean...
Guess whose god is mad?
Yeah. Claire. Oh, especially if there's a paladin in the party. Forget it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the only time I ever get unsubtle about things is if there's a paladin in the party. Because, they're supposed to be, a god's shock troops, basically. A direct representation of what the god represents. But yeah, I mean, yeah, they're old, and I let them deal with it that way. And if, and you know what? It usually takes maybe once, maybe in rare cases twice before they understand that, if we're running, good aligned characters here. Good people in general will keep their word once they give it. If you give it your word to do something, you better go do it. Otherwise it's going to come back on you.
It's not even a case of the characters and their driving motivation so much as it is a buy-in between the players and the DM.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to buy and run a module set like, say, the Dragonlance War of the Lance, okay, at some point you have to accept the buy-in of, we are going on these quests in this direction to deal with this issue. And if we fail to deal with this issue, well, we're not playing the game.
Right.
And, yeah, in-game consequences, yeah, Tiamat wins, everybody dies and is enslaved by dragons, whatever. Big deal. People can live in that world and you can run an anti-canon campaign where, Tiamat wins, play, here's Dragonlance, go.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Or you can actually try to solve the problems that are laid out before you.
Uh-huh.
If the quest is, and it's not so much the tangent of, oh, here's this lair with all this treasure, it's, we're going on this anti-slaver adventure chain. Well, I think we should go and fight barbarians in the hills instead.
Well,
okay, that's going to have consequences unrelated to anything dealing with your god and whatnot ever. We're going to, enslave everyone people, all kinds of stuff like that. But you have to have the subtle hand to camouflage the railroad because you need to have the railroad. You need to have the point A, point B, point C, or take D en route to get to Z.
Yeah.
Fine.
In this kind of game.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
with this set of adventures, being the topic. Yeah, I mean, when you have that's why I really try never to run such things, because there's going to be at least a little player resentment, especially when you're dealing with very experienced players, especially those who kind of know what's going on either from the outset or shortly once you get into it.
Okay.
But my whole thing is to kind of make a railroad without actually making it feel like a railroad is sort of the Mission Impossible TV series kind of thing. That's one of the campaign settings I have, as a matter of fact, where you are asked by the Elven Nation to help stop an impending invasion of this nation. Because if they invade, the chances are that the elves are going to lose. And, I took this straight out of the Mystara Gazetteer books when, 10 years after the Gazetteer settings, basically, more or less, dark elves invade Alfheim and they succeed. They drive all the elves out, the whole nation is transformed, and it's just, and it's one of these things where it's like, okay, you get to stop this. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, this is what you do. Do this. Take care of this person, and as we need you, we will call upon you. That was one way to do it.
How of it is just how they do it. That doesn't really matter so much. That gives them the freedom to go on the plot direction and still, enjoy the game.
Yeah, and not feel like they're being pulled along by the nose.
Okay. But we will cover this in a future show.
Yes, we will.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and one last thought, Mr. Roboto. See, I told you we weren't going to stop talking about it.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah, he'll know who I'm talking about.
Oh,
anyway.
I certainly don't, but let's continue.
Let us continue. Option package.
My personality undergoes a startling change.
You should meet me because I'm a great guy.
I like big fat men like you. When they fall, they make more noise. And sometimes they never get up.
Option package.
Option package. Hi there. We're going to talk about the campaign sourcebook and catacomb guide. Mwah! They're the great splat bugs. This is TSR number 2112.
Yep, 2112.
And
for the Rush fans out there.
It was published in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
And the writers are Paul Jaquays and William W. Connors.
Yep, Paul Jaquays being a personal hero of yours, Glenn.
Yes, Paul Jaquays did the front, Connors did the back.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing is gold.
Yes.
This thing is just DM gold.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
tells you about the kinds of campaigns there are, the kinds of players there are, how to handle things. Pacing and theatrics, uses of judgment in games, interpreting the law, shut up, you're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How to host,
what to do. Metagame stuff. Not talking about the adventure. We're talking about what happens when people come to the house and game.
Yeah, opening ceremonies, just allowing a little stretch of time just for everybody to kind of get settled in and comfortable. Let them chat around a little bit.
The DM if you're going to be late or can't be there.
Right.
Common stuff like that.
Right.
But it also gets into the in-adventure stuff. It's more of there's a lot of metagame information in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you do if you have a player who does this?
Right.
What do you do if you have a player who does that? Somebody who, tries to, we're talking about derail the game. Somebody who tries to do this and that, and they're trying to do some fancy stuff. How do you handle this? And it's just a great. I know people, I heard of people who don't even use the DMG in second. They use the player's handbook and this.
Yeah, I've heard that too. There are a couple people I've talked to who said, if I'm going to run a second edition campaign, I will just need the DMG, the player's handbook, and this.
Yeah, and the DMG is only there for stuff like the treasure tables.
Right. Yeah.
The tables. That's all they use it for. Everything else, they use the campaign source book. And that's only half the book, too. Yep. The other half, you get into mapping.
Yep,
and
mapping.
Cartography.
Yep.
And they introduced, what did they call it back here? The
perspective mapping.
Thank you, perspective mapping.
Mm-hmm.
And they just show you a new way of mapping. Before I got this book, it was like, what? Where's the top-down stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the stuff we were used to.
Yeah. But this way, they can show you what a room looks like without having to look top down. You can actually see how they fit together.
Right.
Orthographic mapping. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's actually really cool.
Right? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I just wish that, a lot more, modules did this, because it's a new way of doing it, or a better way.
It's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
It does what's been done well ever since Ravenloft.
Yes.
Yeah. This kind of splits the difference between doing top-down and side view. Side view, to me, drives me crazy.
As we found out from a discussion we had 2 nights ago.
Yes. I've been playing D&D with my grandson and his friends, and they're going through a one-page dungeon that Dyson Locos did. And I'm sorry to pick on you, Dyson, but it was called Goblin Gully, where they have to clean out an old slaver pit that's abandoned that goblins got into.
Mm-hmm.
And the mapping gives me a side view. Now, I know that's a big thing going through on mapping now with people.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dyson does it, other people do it, they love doing it.
Right.
But you know how much of a pain in the butt it was to convert the side view to top down so I can show them how big, how far.
Yeah. You gave me the link. I looked at it myself and I'm like, it's good. That's good as a supplementary map, but there should be one that shows the area, how, the rooms connect to each other, because you don't necessarily see that in a side view.
Right.
But
I think at the end of the description had one room that had a dimension in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
everything else was describing the rooms.
Right.
That's a shortfall in design greatly. Then you've got to have that information, even if you just communicate it, spatially as you game the encounter. You don't have to say, and it's 50 feet this way and 80 feet this way and 8 feet down the wall there's another door. No, you don't do that. But you got to know the room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The DM has to know the dimensions.
Right. He absolutely has to.
Yeah, the players are mapping by themselves. If they get a little wrong, who cares? But he has to know the dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And this orthographic thing is splits the difference and works perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's basically a 3/4 view. It shows pretty much how, it shows the dimensions of, I'm looking at the limestone caverns as an example. They show the cavern entrance, then they show where, because there's basically a river that goes through it, and they show, where the stream offs go, where the encounter areas are, the waterfall, all this other stuff, and it's a wonderful compromise between, side view and the top-down view.
And in the back, they give you a blank for you to do your own.
Yep.
Which was very thoughtful of them.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the castle and the moors. It gives you all 4 levels of the castle here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good one.
I'm also thinking that this may have limited usefulness. Say if you're doing a mega dungeon.
Oh, yeah, you can't do that in 3/4.
Yeah, or some forever. Yeah, or some. Even though I'm looking at like the Beehive Fort, that's a heck of a lot of rooms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
It is. It's got. Oh, jeez. It's hard to tell because they keep numbering them funny, but I've got to say, at least a dozen rooms there.
Yeah, I'd say, at least a dozen, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of the limit
right
there. I don't think I'd push it any further. I'd have to go top down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you're dealing with really, really large areas like mega dungeons, top down's the way to go.
Yeah, but anything else? This would be great. What you guys use this book, of course, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When this came out, I mean, to be honest, because I did find a little bit more use for the front section than the back, but the back section sort of opened my eyes, saying, "Okay, all right, I get this. I could actually use this." The problem is that it was such a departure of how I normally wrote my dungeons out that I ended up defaulting back to top down. But if you can do it, of course, it requires a lot of trial and error to get it right. But if you can do it, it works wonderfully.
And there's more than just that type of mapping in there. They talk about all kinds of different styles of mapping. I've gone on to this rant before. There's the mapping where it's a blank piece of paper, no lines, no grid whatsoever. Draw an approximation of where you are.
Yep, that's when
where you've been and where you're going.
Right.
That's it.
When I was when I was playing in Undermountain back in the day, that's how I did it. It was just basically squares and a line. That's all it was. I didn't break out graph paper. I didn't ask the DM, how far was that corridor? Or anything like that. And
that's all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need, basically. Yeah.
These are what you need when you're going to crack out the props and hand out to a player. Here's the map you found in the treasure chest. Here's the map you found on this bandit's body, showing the way to their lair.
Tattooed on his body.
That too.
Oh, Lord.
Tattooed on the back of his neck.
Yeah.
How did you handle mapping, Julie?
She there? Oh, there she is.
Sorry, I muted my mic because you're talking about a book I've never looked at.
I know, but I was just asking how you deal with mapping. You used to deal with mapping in your games with the players.
Most of the games I was in were I wasn't dealing with huge areas where they had to do a lot of mapping.
Right.
Okay.
But in the cases that they had a little, where they had to kind of, find their way back, it's not like they used a bunch of breadcrumbs a la Hansel and Gretel, right?
No.
Knowing Julie, probably. Yeah.
The back half of this book is so much more than mapping, too. I mean, it is all about the dungeon environment, the catacomb environment. Why would they build this way? What will you find when you're in there? Toxic gases, seismic fractures, flooded areas. How to deal with all these different unique twists to the environment as opposed to here's a tower, here's a building, here's a castle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that sort of got us on the to quote Zach from a previous episode about how things make sense rather than them just being there.
Right.
I said this on a discussion on Dragon's Foot before. It's like, back when we first started playing, all that mattered was getting to the dungeon, getting in there, killing the monsters, and taking their stuff. As we got older and as dungeon design got better, we started thinking about other things than that. The problem is that with some, it went too far the other way to where the dungeon had to make perfect sense. A good DM finds a balance somewhere in the middle, or at least in my opinion, that's the way it is.
Right. But
why on earth would you have a demon face that is complete, that opens up into oblivion?
Oh, that's where we put our trash.
That's two befores, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
It's the trash.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
It's like keeping a gelatinous cube in your 10-foot pit.
Yeah. Yep. Get
For
rid
your
of
privy?
That is slowly
Your 30-foot pit.
on you.
or a 50-foot pit with an Otiug at the bottom.
Or should I say fast closing in on you?
Well, I have to admit, when I first designed my first city, the first thing I thought of was the, waste removal system.
Yeah. Which is actually makes a lot of sense.
We use planar gates. I wonder why we're having incursions from Githyanki and Githzerai who are pissed off about chamber pots for some reason.
Exactly.
Odieg City, yeah.
Oh, stop.
But anyway, this book, like the two halves, just complement each other so beautifully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so.
It literally is a campaign guide. It talks about world building. Are you a new DM? Do you want to make a world? Do you want to make an encounter area? Mm-hmm. They tell you how.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, stuff like character mortality, when the rules get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point where you got to tell them, well, figure out something.
Yep.
Fudging and constructive cheating. And yes, folks, yes, contrary to popular belief, yes, DMs do fudge.
Oh, no, there's some I've spoken to who don't. And that will actually be a topic on our next episode about cheating and fudging.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you fudge if it serves the story?
Well, that's the thing, because there are those who are just like, I rolled the dice this way, your character is dead. I don't care if your character dying. I don't care if your character dying means the end of my campaign world. This is what I rolled. That's how. Yeah, exactly.
That's so silly.
It gets the famous Julie.
Not always.
Yes, the Julie sigh.
Okay, we will all talk about this in the next show.
Yes.
Campaign Sourcebook and Catacomb Guide. It is ridiculously easy to find this.
Oh, yeah. I'd say.
Not.
Yeah, this is the first blue splat book, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I believe it was. Actually, Arms and Equipment came before it. I'm sorry.
But I'm always seeing this on the shelf when I go into half price or used bookstores.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yep.
This and the other book we're going to talk about next episode, which is creative campaigning.
Yeah.
But this thing, it's like $8-9.
Mm-hmm. Easily.
Pick it up for a song. It was originally $15.
Yep.
So yeah, you can get it for a song.
Yep.
Really.
And if you've read it cover to cover and you know all the things that are in it by heart, like all old school grognards do, sell yours. Send it in. Let a new generation of gamers learn the wisdom.
Yes.
Yes. And tell us about it. THACO's Hammer at gmail.com, osrgaming.org. Purpleworm.org.
Yes.
D20radio.com.
And
I got shouted from the internet.
and of course our phone number, which DM Kojo took well advantage of this week, 405-806-0555.
Way to go, Kojo.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, let's head over. It's in the book.
You ever go to school, stupid?
Yeah, and I come out the same way.
Is that your idea of an idea?
It's in the book. It's in the book. Experience points. When, where, and how much.
Okay.
The eternal question.
Yeah, this one.
Want him to level up.
Yeah, this is going to probably, have at least a little bit of debate between the four of us, but that debate is good as long as it's civil. As far as yes, exactly. We must always be civilized. But anyway, as far as I'll start it off. Mine is pretty simple. When is where the players reach a place of relative safety. That's always a given. I mean, just if they finding a cave out in the middle of nowhere is not good enough. They actually have to be in a village or a town, and they're going to at least spend a couple of days there kind of, resting and getting their, hit points back and resupplying, something like that.
Makes sense.
When, I'm sorry, I got mine mixed up. That was the where. The when is usually at the end of a gaming session where they're in a place of relative safety. And how much, to me, that's simple. I do all the math, at the end of it, everyone's sitting around for 10 minutes while I'm furiously pecking away at a calculator. Basically I, include their 10%. We do go around if anyone had a really good idea or, something, they did something really creative that actually worked. I'll give, a little bit of experience for it. And then I'll just, divvy up the main amount from what they get from combat and, class ability awards, which I do use. And then I just divide it up and give it to them. And then they can, add it to their total. If they get up enough to go up a level, this is what I'm going to probably do with the game that I'm going to run you in full on through, Glenn. I'm going to experiment with eliminating the training aspect of it. Just
experiment. I don't have it at all.
Well, that's because you run basic anyway, But
I would do it in 2E either.
Well, I know, but I've always done it that way.
Okay.
I've run like 4 or 5 campaigns in the last 10 years.
To me, that's like story color stuff. Okay, you train with this person and da-da-da-da-da,
right.
And you're now at this level.
Right. Well, see, that's what I'm just trying to get rid of because it tends to interrupt the flow of an adventure. The last time I saw it where it was really, really glaring, I was running a bunch of people through my interpretation of B5. And just by now, as most of us know, that module is a meat grinder. It says 1st to 3rd level characters, but in reality, it's more like 3 to 5. And you're running into parties of, heavily armed parties of goblins, hobgoblins, bugbears, things like that. And you can amass enough experience that you can go up a level. So my only thing is that, when they got enough experience points, they wanted to get their level, and I'm like, okay. So they had to leave, go to the little fort that you start from, leave that fort, and go to the nearest city, which was like a 3-day journey away. Go into town, train, which took about a week to 10 days, go back in, onto the hill. And I was like, you know what? That doesn't work too well.
No. Just give them the EAP, and
Yeah, so that's how I do it. How about you guys?
Okay, the official, as you know, the official word on this is they should get enough experience points if they're going to go up a level and halfway to the second one.
Oh, I'll let them go all the way up to 1 point short of the next level.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that. What about you, Full-On?
I've done a combination. It's generally a little fairer to it. If you're going to give out XP in the field, which is really where it comes in, if you're not using training and you're letting them train by doing, they adventure, they earn the XP, they level up in the field. That's when you really have to stay on the ball with giving out the XP at suitable intervals kind of constantly to make sure that it's all getting out there accurately. And if they level up, well, they level up in the field or not.
Okay.
If you're saving it for the end of the night, you can run into the case of too much XP and they waste a bunch, which players hate with a screaming passion. If I did enough adventuring to get 3 levels...
You're only getting
and
one.
you're only getting me one, and halfway into the next, and all the rest is wasted. You're going to end up duct taped to the top of the game tape. I was doing that before Brian Jelke and Hackmaster. Okay,
that's a good one.
But for the XP, I like to work it as a combination. If you're going to be giving XP as you play. There's a tool for that, and I'll post it to the library. I've got an XP experience track sheet where I share the load with the players and let them keep track of things that are not necessarily to be tracked. What they got, what they did, stuff like that they can mark right there. If I holler out on the spot award for great role playing, they just note it down on their sheet, whatever. When the end of the night happens, they can total up, or as they're playing, they can total up, and suddenly they're a 5th level fighter instead of a 4th level fighter, and that fight against the BBEG is going to be better for them as a result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The danger is if you give too much XP too fast, and they end up outstripping.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
adventure you have before them. Then you have to be able to DM on the fly and change the scenario to still present a challenge, and it's not going to be a cakewalk.
Right.
But the monster XP, I'll track that. The treasure XP, I'll track that. The XP for the tasks, the procedures, the combat, the damage they do and stuff, I let the players take care of that, and I try to keep them a constant flow of XP so that they can level up in the field if they have to. If I am using training, yes, it's go back to the base to do that. However, you don't necessarily have to, you can split the difference between that too. It doesn't have to be, a cave in the woods can be a great place to level.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they're safe. They're safe. They can ruminate on their experiences, discover they learned something from that, and move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Julie?
I've always been. I sort of split the difference. If they're gaining a new skill or something where they're logically going to need to be trained to move up a bit, to expand their ability, then I'll force them to get. They actually have to find someone to train them. But the rest of the time, if they're just, expanding on a skill they already have, there doesn't seem to be any reason not to let them level up in the field.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Actually, to get back to something that Full On reminded me of, that was one of the things that I always let one of the players keep track of. Because I also use the solo kill system, where you get a little bit more experience points for a monster you kill by yourself. And the one thing I did is that I just let one player keep track of monsters that were killed by the party as a group, solo kills, spells cast, abilities used, and just have them write it all down and just give that to me when they reach that place of relative safety. That way, all I have to do is just say, okay, it's 25 experience points for a magic missile spell, 25 for Cure Light. Oh, that orc that, the fighter killed by himself. So not only does he get the experience points for it, he also gets an additional bonus on top of that, blah, blah, blah. The only time I've ever seen that there was an issue of outstripping is when you have a party with an active thief in it. And by active, I mean that he is doing the typical thief thing, sneaking off and getting the treasure, but while the party is busy fighting the big bad evil guy or whatever. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, second edition gave the thief that 1-for-1 gold piece for experience point for treasure that they actually steal.
Yeah.
I did a variant of that for the chart that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I have it listed here as just a general vague value of whatever X is. I have a 10%, half, 1-for-1, and then whatever that value is, Thief Stole gets double that. So if their risk to treasure ratio is such that they're getting 10-1, takes 10 gold piece to get 1 XP, okay, the thief can get double that, but it's still not going to vastly outstrip everyone else.
Well, at least to me, that only is an issue because the thief advances so quickly anyway. And if the thief is using his skills successfully, and also every now and then, doing the Malik thing from Conan the Destroyer, finding a gem and just putting his mouth and swallowing it, because that no one's going to know that he's got a small diamond in his belly or whatever. And God only knows I've run into enough players who do it. But I'll give them
only the cleric will know later.
Yeah, later.
Well, then you give the XP to his colon.
I have a 7th level colon. I can cast anything.
I don't want to know what its attacks are. Thank you.
No, neither do I.
Well, as far as
when the level before that, it would only be a semicolon.
Oh, ouch.
God, that hurts.
Yes, that does hurt. Oh.
Julie, crit like that, please.
Yeah, exactly. Natural 20, natural 20.
Natural pun 20. Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
a good one.
My view on it, I've done like various and sundry things. If I'm tired at night, I'm just going to say, here, everybody take 750.
Yeah. Oh,
I've also tracked.
Okay.
Third, 3-5, that was a pain in the butt.
Yes, it is.
Tracking everybody, okay, who killed the monster? He did. Okay, who did this? And it was a pain in the butt, like I said. But I do try and be fair about it. I try to remember who did something clever, you know, that kind of thing. Or if I don't, they will remind me.
Oh, yeah, they will.
Yes. So it pretty much comes out evenly. Let me ask the three of you something.
Go ahead.
Have you done this thing at the end of the game going, players voting for other players?
What, an MVP kind of thing?
A role-playing reward as seen by the other players, or a MVP award as seen by the other players. Yeah, I've run into that.
It usually revolves more EAP.
Yeah.
You know, who do you think should get the bonus this session?
I've gone through sessions where, well, see, the whole thing is that, yeah, I always keep a critique about that, and, you know, that was one of the things that when I bring new players in, that's the carrot. You know, it's like, you know, you have your character, you've established the personality, play it, please. Play the personality. Just don't say, oh, my fighter does this, oh, my fighter says that, or anything like that. Get into it a little bit. And yeah, because of that, I have like this grading system, you know, A through F, and, you know, the higher, of course, the grade, there's a set amount of experience for role playing that I give, and the grade actually acts as a multiplier.
I've heard DMs where they have a table full of people who won't role play or anything, and the one who gets the most EAP for the role playing was the NPC.
Yeah. I've done that too, just as a lesson.
Yeah, he gets the most EAP.
Playing a lot of different games and a lot of convention games, I usually for the prize, if there is one, I'll have everyone vote for the two people they thought were best, because that way, even if everyone votes for themselves, the other the count still actually comes up. Whoever did the best job.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense.
And prizes 500 more each. There you go.
Well, no, in a convention game, it was often a book or something.
Well, yeah, it was an actual real prize, like a T-shirt or a book or something like that.
Yeah, I can understand that. I just wonder if you guys did. I've seen that done. I've been involved in that. I seem to remember the RPGA doing that at one time.
Probably.
Yeah, they were. It was part of the assessment of how you completed the tournament modules.
Right. I mean, I know they'd have everybody votes on how the DM did. But I seem to remember who was the best role player. Yeah, it's SOP for RPGA. You know what I mean?
The other thing I've seen a GM do that was kind of irritating, on the other hand, was a lazy GM who, if you didn't remember what you killed, you didn't get the experience for it.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What? Okay,
yeah, that's one of those.
You're not in my games anymore, Julie.
Right. Oh,
I didn't say I did this. I said I played with somebody who did this.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Glenn was making a joke.
Yeah, you're right. That was. Folks, ignore that. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. That's kind of BS.
Big time.
Yeah.
That's just because she didn't want to keep track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lazy GM makes a really bad game. I'm sorry.
I mean, she got the monster stats sitting right in her face. I think,
Yeah, it's just like, okay. Yeah, break out a piece of paper. God only knows there are plenty there. Break out a calculator if you have to, and just add it up. You know, there's no excuse for being lazy. If you're going to be lazy, why run a game in the first place?
There's this New Year's Champions games I played where I get an obscene amount of experience points because the DM by the end of the battle is drunk.
Well, you know what? That's on him.
100 experience points, and then Champions. That's like getting 10,000 in D&D,
Well, you know what? We covered that way back when with the drinking and drugs at the gaming table.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, when the DM does it, and it's like, cool, he's not going to, next day with the hangover, all right, we're playing, I gave you what?
Yeah. Yep. And it's like, yeah, you did.
To sign it.
I have witnesses.
I've run into the self-medicated DM before. We kind of called him on it when he said, a pack of Tarasques.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa, wait a minute.
First words out of my mouth were, I disbelieve.
Yeah. Pack of Tarasques means that
they're all in like military precision.
Yep, lined up.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to wrap it up.
Yeah, go
folks,
for it.
You got experience stories. Tell us about it. THACOshammer@gmail.com, OSR Gaming, and all the other places. Let's go to Rule Zero.
Let's.
It's Rule Zero? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
One would think you've been doing this all your life.
We'll remember you said that.
I know. I'm sure you hate me just enough.
Rule 0.
For some reason, I thought I said Rule Zero. The rules.
Rule Serum? What?
Listen, I got the bottle here too. No.
Self-medication? What?
What? Anyway, this is the flip side. Controlling the cash flow in the game, money in the PCs.
Oh yeah.
Find the right balance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are you an Ebenezer Scrooge or a Monty Hall?
I've gone both ways. That way, anyway.
I heard that.
Yeah, yes, folks, that was my girlfriend laughing because she heard what I just said. But no. Now, of course, I mean, let's all be honest. This is a bit of a confessional. Especially in the beginning when we first started running games, we all had Monty Hall games, pretty much, right?
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
More or less.
Full on?
Eventually, but not at the beginning, no. We were pretty hardcore at the beginning. Then we got silly after I got into, 7th grade at the lunch table.
Oh, see, you had more sense than I did, I can tell you that. But, I mean, this is probably, aside from, constantly finding the right balance of challenge and danger for your PCs, this is like the second biggest headache a DM can have.
Yeah, and it leads back to the first biggest headache, experience, because money is also experience.
Not for me.
Sometimes, but okay.
Well,
the jury's still out on that one.
Well,
different.
We'll see. Well, to give a small little history lesson, when in first edition, one gold piece equaled 1 experience point. And that's what led to rapid advancement. And I'm not bashing 1E, by the way. No, we don't edition bash here on THACO's Hammer. Let's get that out. But that was one of the things that a DM.
Been a show without a disclaimer like that.
We haven't done it in a while, but yeah. Okay. In 1E, that's something the DM really, really had to watch out for because, you would have, if you gave out too much monetary treasure, and never mind magic items, but too much monetary treasure, your players would be going up, a level every session for at least the first, 6-7 levels, maybe?
Yeah. 20 sessions, you're done.
Yeah, exactly. With second edition, they kind of reduced that idea and only gave that to, like, the thief and the bard, which was fine. That's okay. Because, thieves and bards are not so much combat-oriented character classes. They're, right. They have their special skill set, but, they're not going to be in the front rank. Not unless they want to live. But with second edition, they decided to reduce that greatly and give the class experience points awards. What I meant by when I put this up on the show notes is that, okay, when you have a first level party who more or less is going to be broke, after they spend all their initial money buying equipment, armor, and weapons and so forth. I mean, they're going to, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be broke. Right. The whole thing is, finding the right balance, as they progress in level, how much money, they should have. Because, let's see. I mean, let's take the classic module, Keep on the Borderlands. All now, right. If a party clears that whole thing out, there is a lot of money there. I mean, in more than a few in most cases, the risk, is almost perfectly in balance with the reward. Granted, right. But the whole thing is that that was one of the things that I had a lot of trouble with, when I was cutting my teeth as a DM, is finding the right balance to where the players weren't feeling like, oh, we just cleaned out this layer of orcs and we just barely have enough money to keep ourselves fed. Really? Right. And, going completely the other way, making them, political movers and shakers just because of the high amount of money they have.
Right. I think that's one of the things, excuse me, when going in the first time gaming, there are certain mistakes that DMs and players are going to make, and sure. That's one of the biggest ones.
Yes, very much so.
There.
I mean, the only bigger mistake is like putting +5 weapons in a lair, of killing kobolds.
That's like opening up a deli.
Yeah, no kidding.
How do you want your kobold steaks? I'm sure Julie has given out her fair share of lots and lots of stuff.
No.
No? Are you stingy? Are you stingy, DM?
No, you gotta remember, I haven't done D&D in many years, so I got out of it and did other games for quite a long time. And
even with the other games, you probably... anyway, go ahead.
No, even with the other games, the thing is, it's a lot easier to balance it in a world where you have a really good concept of what things are worth. And since I'm dealing most of the time with the real world, with modern day America, then, I know that if I give them $100, back when I was gaming, if I gave them, $500, they could get a plane ticket, or if I gave them $500, they could pay half their rent for the month, when you have things in perspective, then, it's a lot easier to know, when they're going to be excited. They're going to go, $500, oh, good, I can pay my rent. Give them $5,000 and be like, $5,000, damn,
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those where it's like, you know what? The one gaming system I think that kind of got it right was Marvel Superheroes. Because, yeah, I think so. Because instead of, like in D&D where the player and DM basically keep track of how much money they have, there's just a level of, for lack of a better word, opulence that the PC has. And
I like opulence.
Yeah. It's called resources, but, I use opulence. Like, average is like just having a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in like the suburbs or something like that. And if you wanted to say, buy something that was, expensive or even beyond the character's means, you'd actually make a check against it. Against your resources level. And if you passed it, somehow, some way you came up with the money to get it, and if of course you failed, of course, your bank account is, you got like $4 in your bank account and, your bill collectors are on your butt or whatever.
So you try the role like later on.
Right.
You always, yeah. Sounds good. That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's very much like that in most of the games I play. Most of the time when you're doing modern day games, it's not the money. Unless you're doing something where they're like private investigators. That's the one time, when they're being hired to do things, that's different. But most of the times you're doing stuff where you're doing it for your own reasons, and you've got a separate job or an income or something or an uncle.
Right.
And so you don't have to worry. The money isn't the issue.
No.
Let me bring up one game of quote-unquote, it's not really modern, but Call of Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most important things in Call of Cthulhu when dealing with regular people is your credit rating. Really?
FreeCreditScore.com?
Yeah, exactly. Your credit rating it helps convince people. You can go up and if you're talking to somebody, say you're talking to somebody in a ritzy hotel, and you're something like, a newspaper reporter.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a high enough credit rating, you can talk to practically anybody in there, including the owner of the hotel.
Right.
That's because, in Call of Cthulhu, the credit rating represents your entire social status.
Right.
Yeah, not just your money.
It's wealth as social status.
I see.
Because credit rating means, like, if you have enough money, you're dressing nice, you look presentable, you
presumably went to the right school, so you talk good.
Yeah. You got a nice haircut, you're not shaggy, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're playing like an anarchist,
yeah,
try and talk to anybody.
Yeah,
you'll like to talk to Barbara down the street,
Yeah, get lost, loser. Yeah, I get it. But
it was a big thing in the 20s,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I don't doubt that for a moment. That's why
money can play more of a part than just I got a lot of bucks.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to second edition, and how this pertains to that. I usually try when, I'm running a game from first level, I usually try to say, give them enough money to where, of course they can, feed themselves, maybe if they're lucky, buy a horse, and, be able to upgrade their equipment. It's just, as the character goes up in levels, okay, they've got all this money. Okay, what do you do with it?
I buy stuff. I buy stuff insanely. I overbid and I buy anything and everything that I want, and I drive the barterers mad by walking in saying, how much do you want for that? You want 5 gold? 5 gold's an outright robbery. It's a shame. I want to pay you 20 gold for that. And they go, duh.
So you're on eBay a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no eBay in D&D.
I was going to say that too, actually.
There is when you're a thief and money's no object.
Yeah,
or it won't be after tomorrow.
But you realize, of course, you do that enough times that attracts the wrong kind of attention, full on.
It's an adventure. There's no such thing as the wrong kind of attention.
Wow.
So you're
Can I quote you on that?
Yes, actually, that character was chaotic neutral.
Yeah, that's about right.
Now here's an interesting corollary to the money and to buying things.
Okay.
Do you ever rip off your players?
Absolutely. Blindly.
In the sense of they go to buy something, and now this is something where there's a point where it's fair and there's a point where it's not.
Mm-hmm.
When they're beginning, they're not looking for anything special. But what if they save up 50,000 gold to buy this special book, and it turns out it's just bull?
That's their.
It happens.
That's on them.
Yeah.
They should have done their homework. Because you know what? It's one thing if the DM pulls a bait and switch and says, okay, this book is, this is, basically planting the seed in the player's head. This is what you need. This is what it is. This is what it does. And then all of a sudden, when the player amasses enough money to get it, all of a sudden, no, you got swindled. No, that's one of those where, I'd just, where I'd start throwing dice at the DM.
I've handed them maps that are props that are 75% right, 25% completely wrong, with dwarven runes drawn on it. Mm-hmm. That if anyone in the party is a dwarf, they can read.
Yeah.
But they can't if they're not a dwarf.
What does it
Does
say?
it say written in China?
No, it either tells them that this is for... Sometimes I've done it where it's
for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, for entertainment purposes only. Other times it's to rip off and misdirect the tree-hugging elves, or something insulting or denigrating that would give them the clue that, maybe I shouldn't be min-maxing myself on every single combat feat and power and proficiency and dual classing and whatnot, and I should probably take a couple skill proficiencies to learn the facts about a few things instead of contracting them all out and trusting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's but that was my point, is that, there has to be, at least, if you're going to pull that kind of thing on your players, there has to be a way the character can kind of see it coming before, he hands over his money, or he stands there with his money, meets somewhere in a shady place, and he gets ambushed, or something like that. Because as well as I do, that happens. Every DM I've played under has pulled that, or at least tried to.
Hey, you want to buy some magic beans?
Yeah, exactly.
It also helps. It also helps if they're going to role play through dealing with the situation, if they're going to pay attention to what's going on, if they're going to get actively involved, and they can sway that shopkeeper with a really good sob story, and they might actually make a profit on selling an item instead of getting your 10% marked down, or your 50% marked down, or your 80% marked down.
Mm-hmm.
They could sometimes they can get a markup, but that depends on how well they negotiated, how well they perceived what was going on, whether or not they detected if that piece of jewelry was glass crap or actual jewelry, or what the stuff they brought in from the dungeon to sell. Sometimes it's crap, sometimes it's worth something, and they always have the option to walk away from the deal and go find someone else to sell it to.
Absolutely. But see, that's the problem. A lot of players don't go that route. If, like, say, they find like a 5,000 gold piece diamond in a dungeon, and the jeweler they take it to is only going to offer them, like, say, 600. And the problem, the whole thing is that no one in the party has gem cutting, and they would know. Right, appraising. That's the one I meant. They don't have appraising. It's like, if they had appraising, they would know how much this is worth, and then they could negotiate. And even if they went to that jeweler and he puts that lowball offer on the table, that's because the jeweler expects to negotiate.
Yeah, people forget how much value they can get out of a bargaining skill.
Agreed. Yeah, and
haggling's almost the second, nature to, that kind of era.
Yeah.
Paid for that, you must be mad.
Yeah. You're taking food off of my children's tables, or something like that. My children are going to starve because you are trying to cheat me. I will give you 2,500, 4,000. And just do it. And that's
we've all seen Life of Brian. 4 drachmas. Here. No, you're supposed to haggle.
Yes. No matter where you go, this same medieval society, nothing is cut and dried when it comes to trying to sell something. Haggle.
Unless you're shopping at an outlet store for Aurora's Whole Realms catalog.
That's true.
That's very true.
Set prices there.
That's just a guideline.
It's funny. This is just a little side note. The characters I played in the past were never completely broke. They always had at least 100 gold pieces on them.
Yeah,
I contribute that to playing low levels, and the fact that the DM, and a lot of DMs I've done it before, when they make their first character, said, just pick out what you want. Never mind the money. Just pick it out.
I never do that.
That's only reason done for time.
Right. But my whole thing is if we're going to sit around, when it comes down to that, I basically take the first session. If we're starting from scratch, first session is just getting everybody equipped. Getting them equipped, maybe getting into, getting them into the situation they're going to find themselves into. But the next session after that is when the real fun starts. That's the way I've always done it.
I remember 1E days when I was first starting out, sitting there for 45 minutes to an hour figuring out, okay, I got that much gold and that much gold, and then I got to do that. And then it's like, this is taking forever.
No, I get it.
Of course, there's also a lot of DMs who go, okay, you got your basic stats. While we're playing, just, equip your character.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, one of the things I used to do is I took that equipment list out of B4 the Lost City, and I said, okay, these are, because they have one for the normal adventurer, they have one for priests, and they have one for thieves. And this is what it is, this is what you get, this is how much you spend. Go. If time was an issue.
Yeah.
That made it easy.
Anyway.
Go ahead.
Anyway,
I was going to say, in a modern-day game, usually I don't even make people worry about it. I assume that if they have a skill, and it's reasonable for them to be carrying the tools for that skill, then they can have them with them. You know, if you're at a high-class cocktail party, you're not going to have your mechanics tools with you.
No.
That's just obvious. But you would have lockpicks, maybe.
Maybe.
You know, and so it's just, it's logic.
It's
I'll
a
let them try and talk me
screwdriver.
into stuff.
Sonic screwdriver, yes.
Oh, yes.
That's a different game.
Yes, it is.
And money won't buy that, I'll tell you.
No.
Okay, money stories. We want to hear about them. THACOShammer@gmail.com, osrgaming.org, d20radio.com. Have to do that for full on. And let's go talk about, let's see what we got. Magic Fingers.
Yes.
Eeny, meeny, chili beanie, the spirits are about to speak.
Well, it just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Magic Fingers.
Magic Fingers. Okay, let's break out the book. Going to talk about fireballs.
Fireball.
When
I thought you were talking about those beds that shake.
Huh?
Magic finger massages.
Oh.
She got my joke. She got my joke for the title of the segment. Finally,
I'm so sorry.
Was it 26 episodes and somebody finally got the joke?
Yeah.
It would have to be me.
Of course, you're smart. Fireball is a standard equipment, even if you aren't a fire mage.
Staple.
A staple of wizard spells. A third-level spell, of course.
Yep.
And people have been doing, like, many variations on this spell.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my.
From like super fireballs to ice balls to little tiny fireballs. The infamous necklace of fireballs.
Necklace of missiles, yes.
Yes, we all
Cajun fireball? No, I'm kidding.
Your Death Knight and his 20 die fireball?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one of those where, let's put it this way, if the Power Word Kill didn't take you out, the 20 die fireball did.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It'll do it. And this bad boy, let's just go over the basics here.
Okay.
It's an evocation spell, which means one of the schools don't get it.
Illusion, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. It happens instantly.
Yep.
Components, we have material components, VSM, casting time 3, saving throw for half.
Yep.
Now, that's not a bad casting time.
No.
All said and done.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got stuff like a necklace of missiles, no time at all. Throw it and go.
Ring of spell storing.
Yep.
Ring of spell storing. That's also. Now, let me tell you about the range and the.
It's just me, or is a ring of spell storing sort of like a copy and paste?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But let me tell you about the range and the area of effect, because those are real important. The range is 10 yards plus 10 yards per level. Yep. So this thing levels up in range.
Yeah. It becomes a lot more useful at the higher end level you go. I mean,
now, does it go up in damage?
Oh yeah, 1d6 per level. Now,
right.
this is the thing, and I actually made a topic about this, but we can get into it here too. Now, second edition put a cap on it. The maximum wow.
Damage.
The maximum damage is 10d6.
Unless you're playing a Death Knight, then it's 20.
Yeah, well, that's a monster, so, they get that kind of stuff. I've always played Fireball without a damage cap. Even though when you get up around, when you get up into, the teens and getting up around level 20, that it becomes basically a small nuclear explosion.
Oh, don't worry about it. The people you're fighting against can generally make that save anyway. They're going to take half damage, and some of them might have evasion or other odds and ends in it. Wait, crossing systems, never mind.
Yeah.
But you get the idea.
Yeah.
They can take it.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you about the area effect. This is the part that gets me.
Okay.
Area of effect, 20-foot radius.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
40 foot wide, 20 foot radius.
Okay. Yes. Okay, somebody's casting a fireball in a narrow corridor of the dungeon. We all know how this is going to turn out.
Yep.
I love how this turns out, and I've done it as a player.
We're at opposite ends on this. At some orcs. Okay, you throw it.
Yeah.
Now, it fries the orcs. It'll probably fry you too because you have to make a save because of basically the backdraft.
Yep.
If you didn't aim it properly.
Yeah. That's...
Aim it properly.
Yeah,
aim it properly.
Yeah, you can. If you have the space and you keep in mind that from the point of impact it's going to go 20 feet towards you. You know, if as a mage, if you keep that in mind, and I would think that would be something, you know, a mage would keep in mind considering they have high intelligence,
keeps it in mind when describing encounter distance, but that's another story I'll go into later.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is you have to always keep that in mind if you don't want to fry yourself or your friends.
Well, this
is for the text.
This is where your specialty skill in billiards comes in handy.
8-ball corner pocket, but anyway.
Bank shot.
This is what he's going for, where it talks about roughly 33,000 cubic feet, also known as 33 10-foot by 10-foot by 10-foot cubes. That fills up your dungeon complex pretty quickly.
Yes, it does.
If you're going with the as-written rules for it, as opposed to the nerfified version that they did elsewhere, where the radius is the radius, it just doesn't go outside of that, which is weak sauce.
Yeah.
Doesn't spoosh out through walls? I mean, beyond walls don't spoosh it forward?
Yeah, they're supposed to.
They are supposed to. I love it when they do.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. If you cast in, like, say, a 10-foot wide corridor, and there's maybe, like, 10 feet to the end from the point of where you put it, it's going to basically come back towards you. You know, there's no getting around that. There's no putting in a 20-foot radius in that area. In, say, if you're out in the open, on open ground, 20-foot radius is fine. I don't have a problem with it. It's when you start casting the spell in close quarters is when you're going to screw yourself.
Probably going to screw yourself. But again, if you're careful and you know what you're doing and you keep an eyeball on the map, and this is where it's important to be tracking the map, or at least be tactically aware of it when they're laying it out on the board, that you can say, I want to put the fireball here.
Yeah.
It's in your range, and as it spreads through the areas of the dungeon you can see, and what you suppose or hope is the areas around the corners you can't see, as it evenly spreads out to fill those 33 cubes, that's going to be 32 to either side of the starting cube.
Yep.
Well, actually, the 16 to either side of the starting cube. That's all you have to do. Have it be 16 squares away from you in a straight line down a corridor. You're good.
Yeah, if you can do that. But the problem is that, and we've all run into this. I'm sure of it, Glenn. You know, I don't know if you have full on. I'm pretty sure you have. But once a player with a mage gets this spell, he goes ape crap. You know, it's one of these where it's the first spell he memorizes, and he's looking for the excuse to pull the trigger.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
always.
Always.
I have an elven fighter mage who got a nickname of Fireball just for that purpose.
You know, because his friends got caught up in it a couple of times.
Hey, it's not my fault. The DM went around the table. Admittedly, there were like 15 of us at the table at the time. As he was describing the encounter area, I was kind of at the far end of the 3 long tables away and heard orcs, heard a lot, and I didn't hear where. It was literally around the corner, so when he asked me where I put the spell, I put it right in front of the orcs. Great, the orcs are right in front of you.
Yeah, and that's when they're a problem.
The only reason they didn't kill me was because I dropped 2. But that's what clerics are.
Wow.
That's when the cleric decides that you can spend some time in a body bag.
Yeah, you can be dead for a while.
Not as in dead. Only a few people actually died.
Only a few people.
This wasn't a first level adventure then, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, sure, you can throw a magic missile and kill your entire party at first level.
Yeah, but...
Well, maybe not, because magic missiles are super wussy, but still.
Well, not really. You want to know what? They become... Well, the magic missile just becomes much more useful at high levels because you keep getting missiles. You can split them up. You can do, and not only that, unless... Sorry.
I derailed.
Yes, I know. You derailed me.
Fireball, yes.
Yes, fireball.
Boom.
But the other thing is that the funny part is that almost every game that I've played in, once you get the spell, it's like you have to really be cautious how you use it, because if you use it outside, let's say, on the plains, in grasslands, in the middle of summer, during a drought, you're not going to use it because you know what? You're going to cause a wildfire.
Again, that goes into the point of aim. Think three-dimensionally, Con. Put that fireball 20 feet in the air over the orcs, and you can still get them.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, that's the thing. Not a lot of people think of that. They don't think in the third dimension.
Nobody ever looks up.
It's true. It's absolutely true. And, but the whole thing is that, my whole thing is that no one's going to use a fireball in the woods. I'm speaking as a DM now. No one uses a fireball in the woods because you're going to end up burning them down. Unless you have a spell that will basically just put the fire out with alacrity, you're not going to use
saving
that.
Throws. Sometimes trees make them, and even if they don't, they're wet wood. They won't necessarily all start burning down.
Well,
it's when you want that fire hose spell.
Yeah. It's when you want to create one. My whole thing is that if you're in heavy woods, don't use it. Because you know what? Not only are you going to, probably end up burning down a good section of this forest, if there's a druid anywhere nearby, they're going to come after your ass.
Hey, it's a controlled burn. It needs it for the environment. I'm sorry. Don't mind me.
You didn't apply to the council for a permit.
Full on.
Have ashes, or you can have the orcs lay waste to everything and desecrate the land. Pick one.
Well, can I ask you a question, Full on?
Yes.
As Glenn is gnashing his teeth off mic at the moment. And don't take this the wrong way when I ask this.
That always prefaces a dreadful question.
This ought to be good. Go ahead.
Were you a pyromaniac when you were a kid?
I was capable of setting a few fires that I got into trouble for, yes.
Yeah. Don't feel bad. Don't feel...
Control it. I learned to control it later in life.
Yeah, and that's how it manifests itself now?
I leveled up.
I only set
Welcome,
fire
folks, to Brian's Confessions of Other Hosts.
Yeah, I can pull confessions out of people. No, don't feel bad, Paul, because I was the same way when I was a teenager. Actually, when I was a kid, too. I used to frickin' set fires in the sink. But at least it was in the sink.
I only got the carpet once.
Oh, jeez.
I only accidentally did.
I'm DM Glenn. Good night, folks.
Okay. We get
I didn't know the people I was dealing with.
Other ways to fireball. Other things you can fireball with. Other terms
Perfume.
of... We have, of course, in the book, there's the one other valid option. Actually, two other valid options. You have the delayed blast fireball.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite.
You have your melts minute meteors.
That's a good one.
And you have your meteor swarm.
All high enough.
Variants of fireball, but nowhere near as much as you get from Hackmaster.
That's true, but go ahead.
How to deal with the trolls in the woods.
Yes.
Step 1, throw a fireball. Step 2, go out and build a fire break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
that's what spell is for.
Yep. Yeah, good wall of fire will do it. You create a fire break, put a wall of fire up. They ain't coming after you. That's the thing. Trolls, that's the only thing that trolls are afraid of is fire.
I played in a dungeon scenario once where the treants were moving the forest because trolls set up camp in the forest. The queen of the treants, who hasn't been on the job for a while, ordered her shaman, her advisor, to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And the trees were moving. They were going to trample this inn. that was near. Basically, they're trying to get away from the trolls. Well, the trolls, they get away from the trolls, and the trolls go, son, and so they'd follow the forest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our job was to get rid of the trolls without burning down the forest.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Treants didn't want us to. I mean, that's
acid arrow. Next.
I was going to say that's when you bring out the acid, but you know.
Yep, acid storm.
So, yeah, but I know several players who were just like, screw them, fireball. You know?
Yep. Yeah, because it's not only the spell, it's the power the spell represents, because that's the first, you know, aside from the next spell we'll talk about in the next episode, but this is the first spell that has real power to it.
Yeah.
You know, this is the one where the power and the ability, the combat ability of the mage, because of this spell, it goes up exponentially because of this one spell. And, you know, it goes some people's heads.
Can I like be the dissentant opinion here?
Okay, go for it.
Does that mean you're going to lower the tone?
Yeah, it is. No, not really dissentant, but I've always had a problem with the thing about the, you know, radius and filling the room and coming back at you and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, the classic fantasy example, somebody throwing a fireball, it seems like this fireball, you throw it and it explodes in in an area from a target.
Mm-hmm.
The classic version to me is the mage points his finger, a fireball shoots out of his finger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the players sit around and watch them burn.
We'll see.
It seems like early on in the game, and I'm talking about first edition, maybe even basic, all these old, I'm just guessing right now, but it seems like a lot of these old ex-wargamer grognards who's playing with them, all of a sudden, reality ensues. Oh, that's not how it worked in reality. We got to change it so it works in reality. It's a frickin' fantasy game. Come on.
Yeah. And you want to know what? And the way...
they do that in other areas, too, and that just drives me crazy. It's like, I don't want to give them... I'm not trying to get the players to get away with any of the stuff like that. I'm just trying to uphold the genre, the feel of the game.
Right.
And that's my rant.
Well, I mean, the whole thing is that the only... personally, the way that I thought about the fireball spell changed when I started playing the old gold box games. When I played Pool of Radiance. Yeah, only if you wanted to. Basically what it was is that, you know, in the old gold box games, which was first edition, but it's good enough for this purpose, each character icon represented a 5-foot square, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And when you first got the fireball spell, you had to place that fireball spell in such a way that you got the maximum number of enemies in its effect without affecting your party. And from that point
minimum number of party.
Yeah. Well, you know what I meant.
At least the ones who could take it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think your character's the only one that's chaotic neutral.
Chaotic neutral pyromaniac. That's scary. But anyway, but what I was saying is that that's what enabled me to think tactically about the fireball spell, because, you know, in the old campaigns that I played in the early 80s, one of the battle cries was, if all else fails, fireball it. That's what it was. And more often than not, fireballs were flying around like baseballs, literally. You know, and it was like, okay.
How many baseballs have you seen flying around?
I'm just saying. Let's put it this way: like tennis balls flying around from one of those tennis gun things. Okay. You know, like in the Geico commercial where the caveman's covering up because there are like 20 million tennis balls coming at him. That's how it was back in the day. But what I'm just saying is that, yeah, I mean, Full-On's absolutely right. You need to keep in mind of the situation and not just completely just go hog wild with the spell. It requires some responsibility, you know, because your mage character is going to get knocked out, you know, by the fighter who got burned up pretty good, you know, because you didn't you didn't think about it. You just said, okay,
here's
fireball.
Here's how I would handle if it had backdraft and all that other crap.
Mm-hmm.
If I say I'm down a corridor, a reasonably wide corridor, and there's like a party of orcs at the other end of the corridor.
Uh-huh.
Mage wants to throw a fireball. I would have him aim for the back wall.
Yes.
That's exactly how you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly how you do it. You're supposed to keep that in mind. And if it's a straight corridor, my end, your end, they're in the middle, you better hope you're 16 squares away from them, and they have 16 squares behind them. You drop it on the middle of them, the fireball will come right in front of your faces and stop.
Yep. All you'll get is just
you have
a really
T
warm
corridors,
blood.
branching corridors, any open doors, it spills off into those areas.
Yep.
That's the way it's supposed to go.
Yep.
But they got lazy in 3E and just went with the footprint. It's this far, it covers line of sight, line of effect, and that's it.
Well, yeah.
Boring. Hate that.
There has to be an element of danger, yes.
If you have a room or a chamber, that's where it becomes important to know if I'm in a 10-foot tall corridor, but they're in a 30-foot tall room. Hey, I can drop that in there. That's perfectly fine.
Yep. Drop it and close the door if you're fast enough.
Who says we don't have passion on this show?
It's just finding those topics that we're passionate
All right, folks, fireball stores, the usual places, you know what we're talking about. And let's go on and have a snipe hunt.
Yes.
If you only had a living brain.
What do you think? Escaped gorilla?
Listen, you're making enough noise to wake up the dead.
I don't have to wake him up. He's up.
It's time for a snipe hunt.
All right, snipe hunt. Time to pull out another staple of the D&D game, goblins and kobolds.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, after the orc, those are the ones you think of for goblinoid races.
Mm-hmm.
They're like number 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, if a DM has anything on the ball, they should be 1 and 2. Orc should come next because, at least to me, I'm just saying, just on a level of power that, a regular orc, it basically just comes down to random chance and math. A regular orc can kill a first level character. It takes a couple of goblins or 3 or 4 kobolds to kill a first level character.
That's true.
Maybe.
Well, unless you start using overbearing and grappling like every other freaking...
No, not even that. Goblins are a stand-up fighter by themselves. They should match your fighters 1 for 1. Just barely. Just under. Which means everything other than your fighter, they could kill any other first-level character. Mm-hmm. They have a fight when they fight a first-level fighter.
Mm-hmm. That's the quote-unquote even playing field, a first-level fighter, yes.
Yeah.
Which an orc is kind of equal to, but, I digress.
Yeah, okay, I can understand that.
I'm saying goblins are that.
They can be. Well, if they use the right strategy and tactics, they can be. But, they have an inferior AC. It's only 6.
That's pretty pitiful.
Yeah.
Just because that's the gear they get, because their base AC is just like a human 10. It's whatever armor they happen to get.
Okay, now, goblins.
Yes.
Everybody uses these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody. I mean, we got, 4 foot tall, AC 6, blow on them, they fall over.
Well,
it's only hit die 1-1. They're a little more robust than you might say.
Yeah, kobolds you can just pluck in the forehead and they'll fall over.
That's true. And don't anybody mention Tucker's kobolds.
No. Oh, you want to make me mad? Yeah, mention that.
Dragon Mountain? Anyone?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that makes me so mad.
But I do that with kobolds and goblins anyway.
Well, I mean, they can have tactics, sure, but when they have tactics that some elite fighting modern day military units would be jealous of, that's when it gets a little too metagamey for me. Let's put it that way.
To quote the book, goblin tactics are simple and crude.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure kobolds are not much better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they are better.
Oh.
They specifically say in the book that they are more cunning and more devious.
Yeah, I mean...
They use more traps, they use more tactics, they use more because they're smaller. They have to be meaner.
Okay, they have average intelligence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
I mean,
now what's interesting, the distant relatives, the Erd have a low intelligence.
Right.
You're jumping. We're still talking goblins. We can talk kobolds.
I know, but, well, I'm trying to talk about both of them.
Okay.
All right, goblins. Okay, they're stupid.
Well, they're not. Well, I wouldn't say. No, they're not stupid. They can be stupid, but they can also be pretty much like us, average intelligence. And
they are average, low to average, 5 to 10. They can match every villager out there.
Yeah, pretty much. And the whole thing is that, I mean, they may, a party of them by themselves, 6 goblins is not that big of a deal to your average, first level party with with like 2 or 3 fighters in it. Granted,
that's true.
But when you have them in numbers, that's when it gets to be a bit of a problem. I mean, as an example, the classic module that almost everybody in the world likes, B10. One of the first things that happens in B10 is that you're trying to defend a homestead against like 70 goblins.
Yeah.
With leaders, with leaders directing traffic.
Wargs?
Yes, riding wargs, exactly. And that's one of the things about goblins that can make them a problem. Is
their spellcaster shamans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do have those. There are spellcasting goblins.
And remember, they're lawful evil, which means they're organized.
Yes, they take direction very well, as long as the person...
They don't have to have something like a hobgoblin to lead him or anything. They could do it on their own.
Yeah. A bodyguard, a sub-chief, or a chief can do it. Because usually I always give the sub-chiefs and the chiefs average intelligence at least. Because, how else are they going to manage, a tribe of like, say, 300 goblins, counting the women and young? You know
where I think the biggest problem they are with PCs, one of the most effective, biggest problem they are, is when they have bows.
Oh, yeah.
They are like the masters of the hide in the rocks and take pot shots.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Snipers, man, oh man.
Yep, and that's just a sound tactic. That's something they would use, And my whole thing is that using B10 as the example, they don't just run up willy nilly. They come in squads. They try to take areas in the homestead so they have another foothold, so they can come at the actual building where all the people are, in different directions. And
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say my grandson and his friends. I know this is basic, but they're like I said, they're cleaning out a slaver pit full of goblins, and they just got to the bridge. They have to go across the pit with. You're damn right. They're gonna find some goblin snipers in the rocks.
Absolutely.
While they're trying to get across that rope bridge.
Yeah, because that's the best. Because that's the best way to deal with intruders without putting any significant risk to themselves.
Right. Worst comes to worst, they're going to run out with a couple axes and start chopping that bridge down.
That's right.
That too.
Do the old Indiana Jones thing, yeah.
Yep.
Ride that baby down.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, oh boy.
But a goblin lair is really good for like, say, I'd say probably a 3rd or 4th level party to tackle. And even then they can't just run in there and just take on everybody because they're going to get swarmed. That's just how it's going to be. They have the numbers. The thing is that you have to take them, you have to whittle them down. You have to employ guerrilla tactics, right, Falon?
Oh, yes. And that's also what the goblins are going to do back to you. Here's a perfect example. Reverse dungeon. The entire first third of reverse dungeon is you, the players, take control of a tribe of goblins and defend it against the horrible, horrible adventurers coming in to raid.
That is a lot of fun, I have to say.
You are horrible, nasty goblins that are there just to be low-level XP.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Julie module.
Whether you were deserving of it or not, they're going to come after you, and they give each player 3 goblins as their personal control, just so that, because they expect them to get schwacked in mass, but it teaches the players to fight like goblins.
Yep. Use your numbers. Use your numbers. Be sneaky. Don't face them out in the open because you're going to get slaughtered. No.
Hey, Brian.
Yes.
Hey, Brian. Is this another reason why you don't have black powder in your world? Can you imagine them with like blunderbusses?
The problem is that with that is that the way I look at it, it's a slippery slope. You introduce it,
Yeah,
and of course your
but
opponents have it, then the PCs have it. Then
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But,
know
yeah, I
that,
mean-
but I'm saying, could you imagine goblins with like powder weapons?
Yeah,
My God.
they do
Look
it.
at Lord of the Rings. There
Yeah.
you go. Expendable goblin, suicide bomber.
Oh, that was an orc.
Breached the walls of Helm's Deep.
Yep.
That's right.
Blew a big ass hole in it too.
Yeah, the Urukai Olympic runner.
Yeah, and taking elvish arrows in him while he was doing it. Yeah, that was awesome. One of my favorite parts of the movie.
Anyway, it's a good point. Yeah, they have their tactics.
Mm-hmm. And
Advantages to fighting against them are they don't like light because they're a natural infravision user. They got 60-foot infravision, and they take a penalty when fighting in light.
Right.
I mean, I think orcs can handle light better than they can.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Get another use for the fireball.
I'm burned and I'm blinded.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the same thing with kobolds, except the kobolds are smaller. And even though they're not smart personally, it's their cunning that puts them up at average intelligence.
They even have higher intelligence than the goblins because they need that to live. They're 8 to 10, not 5 to 10.
Yep.
Here's a thought.
I'm listening.
A group of goblins led by a kobold.
I see it.
Who's smarter than them.
Mm-hmm. See, the only problem is that kobolds. Actually, I take that back. They changed that for second edition.
They're lawful evil also.
Yes, they are. They used to be chaotic evil.
Yeah. I mean, their brethren, the Yurd, are neutral evil, but they are lawful.
Mm-hmm. And Urds are just, nasty.
They like to drop rocks on people.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, rock bombs.
And when you get a population of kobolds that gets up into that numeric superiority they like, they'll start taking over. Because they're meaner, smarter, and more devious than everyone else.
That's
right. That's right. I don't even want to go into creative use of goblins and kobolds because we've just spouted a whole bunch, and I'll bet there's a lot of players out there just like...
you don't even have to go the Tucker's kobolds route in order to make them a challenge, even for higher level characters. I mean, all you have to do is use what's here. Give them guard animals. Give them, some of them even have giant weasels that do blood drain and stuff like that. Give them shamans.
Traps and early warning systems.
Other animals. Let them domesticate giant spiders.
Mm-hmm.
Traps.
Yeah. A lot of traps, because kobolds are sly like that. I mean, even in keeping Borderlands, that's where you start running into pit traps. The kobolds use them because they have to be smart because they're small. They are, if you have orcs, goblins, hobgoblins, kobolds, all in the same area, the hobgoblins and orcs will start bullying the goblins and kobolds. Why? Because they're smaller, which means, doesn't mean it, but it's implied because they're weaker. That's just how it is. And so kobolds have to think better in order to stay alive. Otherwise, they could.
That's funny. You have this huge
and develop a taste for the occasional skewered hobgoblin.
Of course.
Yeah, and you always
Meat's back on the menu, boys.
You love the look on that hobgoblin war chief's face when he turns around and finds that he's down a dead-end corridor with 20 kobolds smiling at him with knives.
Yep. Because
they're just down a pit trap with spikes at the bottom.
Yeah.
Here's a funny little thing. When I was talking about
drop
goblins,
rocks on them until they're dead and you can eat them.
Yeah. When you drop, kind of in line to what I was talking about, a party of orcs with an orc chieftain where they have kobolds as servants or whatever, and the orc chieftain has a kobold second in command, like a Starscream.
Yeah, it's always trying to take over, but can never try to get it done.
And whispering in his ear, kind of a Grimer worm tongue kobold.
Oh, we can take those adventurers.
Yes. And we will stay here and guard your treasure.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't want to appear weak before the Minotaur, do you?
Mm-hmm. You don't
bring them adventurer heads to show your worthiness.
I'm right behind you.
Yeah. We will.
I've got your back.
Yes.
We
will guard your back. You kill them. You take their treasure. We will guard your back. And of course,
Iago the kobold.
Good news! The shaman learned fireball.
Watch. Stand right here now. Watch.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly how I see kobolds, because they have to use their brains in order to live.
Yeah. So they're the sniveling little scheming cowards.
Yep. That's exactly what they are. I mean, they only fight straight up when they have no other choice. Yeah. When they are backed into a corner. Otherwise, you run up with a adventuring party and kill 20 of them come at the adventurers and half of them get killed. They run the other way immediately.
And if you corner them
and lead you into a trap,
they'll surrender.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they will.
Yeah. And now what do, Paladin?
Oh, please. Let's not even go there.
I like the idea Julie's leading you into a trap.
Oh, yeah. Look, they'll do that.
The Mongols.
Look, there's
Mongols
one
used
there.
to do that in real life.
Yeah. The bait.
I had a party. I was in a party one time. I was playing 2E, and we were in a dungeon, and we saw a kobold. We ran after it, and we walked around the corner, and there was this barrier they built with rocks and stuff with another kobold behind a ballista.
Yep. They can, if they can get these, they will do stuff like that,
and they have the time and to plan it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like we go,
yeah.
We don't want that kobold anyway.
Yeah, because you don't want to take that 3 to 18 damage, which can most likely kill you.
Yeah, ballista to the forehead. And there's probably two others helping him back there, but it was like, you just see him, he's got this big smile on his side behind him.
Here's a question, and we went over this a little bit on the forums, talking about the damage that these creatures do. If you look at the goblin entry, it says 1 to 6 by weapon. So whatever generally they have, it's something that will do up to 6 points of damage generically of whatever they're swinging. But the kobold lists 1 to 4 or 1 to 6 by weapon. Does that imply that the kobolds are actually tooth and clawed?
Yeah, I could.
Needle sharp little fangs and, dangle them by their ankles, and they're going to curl up and gnaw on your wrist.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see it.
I can see it too. I mean, of course, I can see it with the goblins too, the way they look. But goblins are more like, oh, we got weapons, we're going to use them.
Yep, exactly.
It looks like if you took their weapons away and they just run.
And another excellent way of looking at alternate goblins, take a look at the Goblins webcomic by Thunt.
That's right.
If you haven't read
Flaming Hearts Roasted on Sticks. It was an audio, kind of more like an audio novel than an audio drama.
Flaming Hearts Roasted on Sticks.
It was a goblin, I think, who was serving human hearts on sticks.
Lovely.
It was a cute. It was actually a surprisingly cute slice of life for goblins or orcs or something.
On my X3 notes, I have Ahmed, the proprietor of the Grinning Goblin. Is the inn in town. You'll love to come by anytime. We take care of you. Very good.
So
he's a goblin, I take it?
Goblin dressed in fine clothes is the proprietor of an inn. Some people say he's a polymorphed adventurer. Some people say he's actually just a smart goblin.
So, Julie, this book. Where do you find it?
It's an audio drama somewhere on the internet. I don't know that it's been done anytime recently.
Oh, okay. Might be
Flaming Heart on a Stick?
Yeah, Flaming Hearts on Sticks.
Just gotta Google it.
That's what I'm doing.
Let's talk about, you folks talk about Kobold and Goblin experiences, what you do with them, that kind of thing. THACOshammer@gmail.com. Give them the number again.
405-806-0555, and I don't want to see anything about no Tucker's Kobolds.
Yeah,
because I will immediately delete it.
Yeah, you want to see Ryan go ballistic? Let's do that. Actually, that might be fun. I like
goblins instead.
Brazen Hearts, fresh on sticks. My bad.
Brazen Heart. Okay, I got it.
Brazen Hearts, fresh on sticks.
Wow.
Yeah,
there it is. Yeah,
Okay,
it's a blog spot. I got it.
Okay, so it's easy to Google.
Yes, it is.
And looks like we
once you get the right name.
Yeah.
Yes, once you get the right name.
That's kind of important. Yeah.
Well, it's the end, guys. Another one in the can.
How about that?
Splat book number 26 is closed.
It's like we never went away.
It's like you never want to hear us again. No.
Hey, come on now.
Sorry. Say goodbye, Falon.
I'll see you later.
Gamer Nation.
Yes.
Ryan.
Watch out for those goblin spears. They're nasty.
Oh, yeah. And our lovely Julie.
Come see me in Dunwich.
Yeah, come see both of us in Dunwich. I'm DM Glen, and I'll see you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer. Bye-bye.
THACO's Hammer theme is provided by the Diablo Swing Orchestra. You'll find them on Jamendo.com. All other additional music for this episode was provided by Kevin MacLeod. You'll find more of his music on Incompetech.com. Be sure to visit our website at thacoshammer.info. If you have any questions or comments, email us at thacoshammer@gmail.com. Remember, that's an O, not a 0. You can also find us on the second edition forums at osrgaming.org and at purpleworm.org. Or give us a call and leave us a voicemail at 405-806-0555. See you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer.